What's up, everybody? It's Ben Barrows, aka Random Crown here. Welcome to a review video of the 162 Bounty Builder that I won a few weeks ago for the third time, actually, which we refer to around here as the Trippity Dip. The first time was the Shippity Dip, the second time was the Double Dip. This was the Triple Dip, the Trippity Dip. We're not going to go through all the hands like we did for the first 162 Bobu that I won, so I just picked three hands where I open limped and exercised, an unconventional strategy. And yeah, let's just go talk about them. I think these will be some interesting hands to spur discussion. So here we have 9-8 suited under the gun, and this is a hand that you could do several things with. You could raise, you could fold, or as we decide to try, we limp. Just call the 400 big blind, and we get an under the gun plus 2 call, small blind completes, and the BB checks. Then we flop a flush draw. The reason why we limp free is because there's a few stacks that could jam over us when we raise, and we prefer to save ourselves a big blind by doing so, because when we raise, we min-raise 2 blinds, so we just call for 1 blind, and that way, if they do go all in, then we save ourselves a blind. And this is a bounty tournament, so we are incentivized to play as many pots as we can with players that we have covered, so we can hopefully bust them and get their bounty. And the big blind has about 12 blinds to start the hand, one of which is in the middle, so about 11 behind, and so they have a much higher chance of busting, so we want to go ahead and see as many flops of them as possible, and 9-8 suited is going to be a hand that connects with a lot of boards. As you can see here, we flop a flush draw, so we go ahead and just take the lead in the hand when it checks to us. We bet a little more than a blind, about a quarter pot, and it folds around to the big blind, and they call. Turn is the 6 of hearts, which gives us the flush. And they have about 4K in their stack, and there's 3K in the middle. So instead of betting a larger amount, like say, 2K, or even like 1,500, we want to bet a smaller amount, because that will give them the illusion of fold equity and could get them to check raise all in with a hand that we have crushed, or even just call with a hand that does not have enough equity to see a river, like a pair with no heart. And if we bet a larger size, then it looks like we're not folding our hand, and therefore they're going to continue with less holdings. So we go ahead and bet 670, which is like, again, not quite a quarter pot, but a little more than 20%, 22% or something of the pod in that ballpark. And it's a small enough bet to where, like, they have 3,300 behind or whatever if they call, and so they could just jam that in the middle, which is around the size of the pot, so they have some perceived fold equity basically. So we give them some room to go all in with a hand that they might fold if we bet a bigger size, and that is exactly what they do. They have the ace 7 off for second pair, no flush draw, and they get it in with absolutely no equity. They're drawing dead. We have 100% equity. They literally win 0% of the time, which is obviously the best possible situation in poker. And the reason why we were able to get them to get it in so bad is because we bet so small in the turn. I mean, it is possible that maybe if we did bet 2K, they were just like, whatever, we don't believe you, and we stick in, the rest of the money, so call the 2K and raise 2K on top. But I'd say that it is unlikely that they get it in with this if we bet a larger size like that, where we are obviously committed to the pot. I do think the reason why they ended up going on with it is because we bet a smaller amount. And, this is a spot where, some people might not even see the flop because they might just fold pre under the gun, with so many players left to act. And I think raising definitely is okay sometimes, but generally, this is a hand that is going to have a lot of potential, but you don't really want to bloat the pot with it so much, and so that's why we just limped it and ended up resulting in a very favorable situation. We win a pretty decent pot, and we get a bounty. Here we have an example of an old school hand, like in the sense of limping under the gun. Ace King is something that a lot of players in the mid 2000s would limp under the gun with to try and induce an active player to ISO raise them so they could re-raise when it comes back to them. And that's exactly what we do here. So we limp under the gun for 2,500, player next to act limps as well, and then this player up here ends up 3xing to ISO. And so we decide to just go ahead and rip it in because they should be raised folding a fair amount here. We actually have already identified them as a active player. They're very aggressive, and yeah, they've ISO'd people before at a higher frequency than one would expect with like a normal distribution of hands. And so we figured that it's better to just go ahead and limp jam here than to open and just allow them to maybe call, because I think they're going to be ISOing much more than they are 3-betting, and this way we have just more in the middle to be won. So they big at 7,500. This guy already limped for 2,500. There's an extra 10K in the middle in addition to the normal blinds and antes of 3,750 for the blind, 3K for the antes. So that's like 6,750 plus an extra 10K. We get 16,000 plus almost 17,000 chips here, which is very significant for our 72K stack whenever we get this through, and it's exactly what we do. This guy just got his hand caught in the cookie jar and was ISOing much too light, and so we just take it down and win a pretty healthy pot with no showdown. So this is a unique spot because not a lot of people will be playing ace-9 off from under the gun, but this is a 6-handed table, and the big blind has a short stack. They have 10 blinds total with 1 blind in the middle, so 9 behind. So this makes it a good spot, in my opinion, to limp to try and see a flop with them so they can flop a weak top pair and we can potentially get all their chips in bounty. So we limp, and then the player next to act limps as well. Folds to the small blind. They complete the BB checks, and we flop pretty well. We get a top pair, top kicker, and we get a min lead from the small blind, which in general is going to be relatively weak holding. It's never very strong. It's going to be like 6-7 or like a top pair with a low kicker. I mean, in general, they'll bet even like a little bigger than that with top pair. So I think we can strongly weight them towards middle pair or some sort of draw. And so we just need to raise large here because, we don't want them to see a cheap turn. We want to charge them to proceed, make them pay to play. And we make it about the size of the pot, 21K, and folds it back around to them, and they just let it go. And I think that this is fine, but I think we should size up a little bit because we have a bit more than a pot size bet behind if they were to call this on the turn. So we want to make it maybe like 26, 27K. So there is, about a pot size bet. Maybe we have like slightly less than pot left in our stack to just jam on a safe turn. But, still, this is like a reasonable raise size. It's pretty large compared to what they led. And, it's okay, but I think we should make it a little bit bigger. But in general, this is going to be an okay spot to limp, in my opinion, because we want to be playing as many pots as possible with shorter stacks, especially ones that have in the 10 blind territory. And since that short stack is in the big blind, they could have a hand like 9-4 off and just check it. And we get this flop, and we're going to get all their chips and their bounty some of the time. So I think it's definitely worth it to try and start speculating with some of these more medium strength hands that people would tend to just fold first act. Well, all right. That concludes this strategy video for the Shippity Dip YouTube channel. If you feel like you got something out of it or just enjoyed it, please click the like button below. And if you want to support the channel, clicking the subscribe button would be much appreciated. Well, that's going to do it for now. I wish you all many blessings, and hope you all have a great day. Peace.